Alright, I'm just going to try to make this as informational as possible and as quick as possible. I make sterling silver bars. These are ingots. They're called ingots or bullion because they're not a jewelry or a coin or silverware. It's just weighted, you know. So I use these punch stamps that I got at a local hardware store to punch in 925, 76 grams, which I just bought the letters so I could do the G or troy ounces or whatever, what have you. Basically, I only want to deal with silverware. Coins are only 90%. Jewelry, there's so much stuff that can be fake, even though it's marked 925, which is any silverware I buy has to either say sterling right there or 925. Also, it'll have certain makers' marks, which I drew out. It'll be like a star, a D, an eagle, a anchor, some type of lion, or some type of head, you know, like a presidential head or something, and that represents London, England, wherever it was made. Now, I also started with granite molds that I bought on eBay for about $25 a piece, and they were just granite and they were squares, that's it. And when I poured the silver, it would cool so quick that I would not get, you know, this type of pour, like a actual, it didn't look good, it looked like crap. So I buy these at Target for $1. They're little trucks, and they start out with the back end that flips open like a dump truck. Since then, I just bust the back off and glue it like that. So it's just a hair smaller than it comes, but I glue them in with just wood glue, that's it. So for $1, I have a mold. However, they're disposable. Once they're used, they're no good, so, and you'll see why in a minute. Well, I'll get into that anyway after, but let's go ahead and start melting now. I'm going to go ahead and do a spoon, which I've broken and bent up so it'll fit in my crucible, which you can buy these on eBay for about 20 bucks, $25. Mine came with the handle, which is good. And basically it's stone, and you use borax soap, which I know a lot of people say boratic acid or something like that, and people don't really know what it means, but it's just the basic borax soap. It's powder form, and I keep a little bit in my bottle there, and I'll sprinkle it in. Go ahead and put the silver in, and to add weight, I'm going to be melting one of my smaller bars, which is 41 grams, and I'm going to add it to that, so it'll be a total of about 75 grams or 2.5 ounces. And another thing that's important is I'm using a MAP gas torch. You can use one. It's about the smallest you can, or the largest you could go with a torch like that, I believe, is around 2.5 ounces. Anything higher than that, I don't think will melt with this size torch. I could be wrong. Also, you do not want this kind of tip. You need a good tip like this. It makes the heat almost 1,000 degrees hotter, it seems. So go with that type of tip. So yeah, and this bar, just pretend I'm not starting with that, because you could just bend up 2 spoons and put them in. Also, jewelry, you want it to say 925, which is 92.5% silver. You could maybe pause on this for a second if you want and read what that says, but you just basically, like I said, I don't do coins, those are only 90%, and I stick with silverware that reads sterling right on it. So I've got my mold ready to pour it in when it's molten hot. I got my crucible, I got my torch. I'm going to go ahead and just add a little more. My crucible has plenty of borax on it, which all it does is makes it slippery so that it rolls and it'll pour out easily, and it helps the impurities kind of roll off the main silver. Also, I'm indoors right now, so I've set up an exhaust up there. It's just a fan, and so I don't set off the smoke detectors or have any harmful fumes inside. Let's go ahead and start melting, and then I'll finish the video explaining the last part of the process. Sorry, I'm really trying to hurry, so this is kind of going fast and sloppy, but I learned on YouTube how to make these, so hopefully someone can learn from this video. Alright, let's hope the camera doesn't fall over, so I'm not going to have a free hand. Alright. You want to use gloves and safety, any safety equipment you can, goggles, gloves, long sleeves, long pants. I started out with short sleeves and shorts and no glasses or anything, and it's not smart, so definitely go with safety. I'm going to go ahead and start heating this up, and hopefully you'll be able to see how quickly it will go with this type of setup, torch and tip. I may have to keep the angle up a little higher so that I don't spill any of this, but I'll try to let you see as much as you can as it's happening. Okay, now while it's on fire, I'm going to take that with a pair of pliers and I'm going to come right up to the fan, because as I said, I'm indoors. I don't want to set off the fire alarm. And I'm going to smother the flame with a little tin foil. You see a big puff of smoke will come. And now it's out. It's not on fire anymore. All that smoke's going to go right out the window, which I don't really recommend doing it this way. I live in Maine, so I don't have the luxury of having warm weather year-round or even close to. Well, it's nice here, but the silver cools so fast that you basically want to be somewhere like Arizona maybe to do it outside, or, you know, I do prefer doing it in the shed. I can have a lot more exhaust and just leave the door open so I can breathe well. Alright, once the smoke starts to cool down a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and take the tin foil off, start adding just a little bit of water to it, and that'll start boiling that water. You'll see it, there it goes, it's puffing right out of there. Add a little more. Just keep adding just a little bit at a time. And pretty soon you'll know it'll be cooled, it'll stop boiling. Still just sizzling the water right off. You can see the bubbles coming out. Okay, and that's cooled. So now, I'm going to go ahead, bring it down here, get a little bit more water. Like I said, I'm trying to go as quick as I can to show you guys. Alright, so now I'm just going to add a little bit more water to that. Now that is cooled. Once I'm done, I take these, tip it over. There you have the ingot mold. Make sure that's fully cooled off before you attempt to touch it. And the way I get it from looking like this, which right there, that's all the borax hardened on there, almost like a layer of glass. And the back is, that's the wood grain, the wood, basically what the wood looks like is all lines in there. That's now ruined. You can't use it again because the wood looks like that design right there. Anyhow, once you get to that point and it cools, you take this type of disc sander and just basically, you know, you want to take the edge of the sander and just kind of turn it on and work it on. Just start going like this, like working the areas, and you know, you don't want to blast away too much silver, obviously, but you just need to, you really need something tough to get that layer off. It's pretty, the glass and the tar, whatever the wood burn, is pretty hard to get off. So once you get it to a nice shiny surface with the sander, you can just get a Dremel buffer like this and buff it down a little more. And then to get the mirrored look like I've got here, you have to tumble it basically, which you can either, I keep my bars in a leather sack and I just literally every now and again I'll shake it up for, you know, 5 minutes while I'm watching TV, and they tumble off of each other and actually harden it down. And after you stamp it, once you polish it, buff it, you want to stamp it and then tumble it. And I'm actually working on a tumbler I found on YouTube. A guy was showing how to make. I'm going to glue these together and then you put BBs, just regular BBs, in there, and you know, drill a hole for a bolt and then stick it in the end of the screw gun and just angle it in a clamp or somehow so it's at about this angle, 45 degrees. Fill it with BBs about, you know, to like, if it's sideways, you know, the bottom of it like that, and then put water in it up to the BB line. And then tumble it. So turn it on and that will tumble in the BBs in the water and supposedly get this type of finish, which, like I said, I'm pretty cheap, so I shake them in a bag, and this is a product of one of those. So the only thing I don't think I went into was because I used a bar, it had already had pure silver mixed in with it. What you do is they sell on YouTube something called shot, which is basically pure silver that they've melted into like little tiny specks. And to make, you know, 2 spoons into a bar, all you'd really need is that much, or not even, just like 2 little BBs size of pure silver. You want to maybe mix that in, something like that, with your 2 spoons to give it a purity. So that's about it. I hope it was informational, and I'm sure I forgot something, but that's the way I make my silver bars. Good luck.